Welcome to the Wellness Protocol, your source for guidance on metabolic health, hormones, and longevity. I'm Dr. Alessia Roehnelt, double board certified endocrinologist, and on each episode, I'll share simple tools rooted in science and experience to help you feel better, live longer, and take control of your health. Welcome back to the Wellness Protocol, where we take a deep dive into the science of hormones, metabolism, and longevity, and turn it into real actionable steps that you can use to feel your best. I'm your host, Dr. Alessia Roehnelt, a double board certified endocrinologist with a passion for helping women understand their bodies, especially during the decades when everything just starts to feel different. Today, we are talking about something I hear every day in my office. I'm eating the same way, I'm exercising, but nothing is working anymore. If you're in your late 30s, 40s, or 50s, and you've noticed your metabolism starts to feel like it's slowing down, today's episode is for you. So number one, why does this happen? Let's talk about this hormone shift. First, I want to start by debunking a myth. Your metabolism doesn't break in your 40s. It's just shifting because your hormones are shifting. As estrogen and progesterone begin to fluctuate in perimenopause, they impact how your body uses energy, how your body stores fat, and how it builds muscle. So here's what's happening under the surface. Estrogen helps to maintain muscle mass and insulin sensitivity. That means it keeps your cells responsive to glucose, and it helps to prevent fat storage, especially around the midsection, that stubborn belly fat that just doesn't seem to move. And as estrogen levels fluctuate, insulin sensitivity declines, and your body tends to store more fat around the belly. Not because you're doing something wrong or because you changed anything. It's because your internal chemistry is changing. Progesterone, on the other hand, supports deep sleep and balances cortisol. And when it starts to drop, sleep gets lighter and stress hormones stay elevated, and both of these things will make it more difficult for you to burn fat. And cortisol, which is a stress hormone, now really starts to run the show because chronic stress and perimenopause often equals a double hit. You're more hungry, you have more inflammation going on, and you're just slower to recover from things. So when women tell me it's like my metabolism just stopped, what's really happening is this shifting hormone to metabolism conversation. And as these hormones are changing, and as your body becomes less sensitive to insulin, you might start to develop insulin resistance, which is the first step towards developing high blood sugars and pre-diabetes and then diabetes. And that condition of being insulin resistant also makes it very difficult to lose weight and makes you very carb sensitive when it comes to weight loss and weight gain. But let's talk about muscle for a little bit and your metabolic reserve. So your muscle mass is one of the biggest predictors of metabolic health. And unfortunately, it really naturally declines after your 30s, about 3 to 5% per decade. So less muscle means a lower resting metabolism, which means fewer calories are being burned at rest. And the story doesn't even end there. Muscle is also considered an endocrine organ. It releases something called myokines, which are signaling molecules that improve insulin sensitivity. They reduce inflammation, and they support brain health. So when estrogen drops and muscle mass starts to decline, it is a perfect storm. It's not just leading to a vanity issue, it's really causing a full system shift. And your body is unfortunately in a state of trending towards a slower metabolism and weight gain. So the key to preserving metabolism in your 40s and beyond is really muscle-centric. So here's what that means in real life. Number one, you have to prioritize protein at every meal. Now, you could go ahead and use some calculators, and you could try to figure out based on how much you weigh, how much protein you should be eating a day. And a lot of these calculations will sit somewhere in the range of 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. But really what I think you should focus on is just making sure you have a good source of quality protein at each meal. That doesn't mean you should be substituting all of your meals with something like a protein powder, which is unfortunately processed. You should be thinking about incorporating real wholesome foods that contain protein. And if there are places maybe you're missing throughout the day, or maybe you want to add a little bit of extra protein to that meal, that's where something like a protein supplement or protein powder could come into play. But you really want to make sure that you're getting the majority of your protein through foods. Number 2, you want to make sure that you are strength training at least 3 to 4 times a week. If you have time for more than that, that would be amazing. I don't mean that you need to be doing 45-minute or hour-long sessions 5 or 6 days a week, but maybe some days you're doing just a little bit of arms in your basement for 5 or 10 minutes. And then other days, maybe you're doing a little bit more of an intense workout at a gym for 45. But changing it up a little bit and really focusing more on building strength rather than just focusing on cardio. In the office setting, we can even use measurements like a body composition scale to track those changes in muscle and fat composition. Because the scale weight alone on just a typical scale is not going to tell the full story whatsoever. And if you are in your 40s or above, the main goal should not be to necessarily lose weight or lose pounds, but to shift your body composition and make sure that you are building muscle as well as reducing fat. And what's also important is to think about focusing on your recovery as well. So that means your sleep, your quality of sleep. You might consider taking magnesium to help with relaxation or sleep at night. You want to make sure that you are getting enough hydration, especially after a workout. And you want to make sure that you are managing your cortisol spikes. Cortisol goes up under stress. Now, the solution to that is not to take a pill that lowers cortisol. The solution is to manage stress in your life and try to minimize stress. Now, when it comes to this blood sugar connection, this really is huge because, as I mentioned before, as estrogen fluctuates, your cells become more resistant to insulin. That means that sugar or glucose is going to hang in your blood system longer. That is not good for you. So excessive sugar in the bloodstream leads to a lot of inflammation. And while that is happening at the microscopic level, what you are feeling is energy crashes, cravings, especially cravings for carbs or sugar, and you're noticing that you're storing fat on your body like your belly, maybe in places where you didn't store it before. You might start to notice that after your meals, you're starting to feel very, very tired. And that's because when you become insulin resistant and your blood sugar starts to rise, it can become very high after meals. And when blood sugar is high, it causes significant fatigue. So a few ways that you can stabilize your blood sugar without using medication. Number 1 is to make sure you're always pairing carbohydrates with a protein or fat. So for instance, if you were to eat an apple, rather than just having the apple, try adding some natural peanut butter on that apple, some almond butter, maybe even a handful of nuts. That addition of protein and fat is going to help reduce the blood sugar spike that can come from carbohydrates. Number 2, taking a short walk after meals can significantly reduce your sugar, whether it's 2 to 5 minutes, ideally more like 10, but any amount of movement after your meal is going to be helpful. So making sure that you are not just eating and sitting down on the couch, but you're eating and moving around. Drinking water can also be very helpful in balancing blood sugar. And try eating a little bit earlier in the evening so that you are reducing these nighttime glucose spikes. Even small changes here can make a really big difference in terms of how you feel, your energy levels, your mood, and definitely your metabolism. For some patients, I even recommend trying a continuous glucose monitor. Those are the little devices that you put on the back of your arm and they monitor your blood sugar in real time. So you can see your body's personalized response to certain types of foods or certain types of exercise. You can also see how certain types of stress affect you. I've had patients where when they're watching their child's tennis match, their blood sugar goes off the chart because they're so stressed. And so realizing what stress does to your body can be huge in helping to manage your blood sugar and bring down stress levels. But there are some other hidden players that I want to mention as well. So let's not forget about the thyroid. The thyroid is really your metabolic thermostat. And even mild thyroid dysfunction can really amplify these perimenopausal symptoms. For instance, if you are developing an underactive thyroid, the symptoms of that could be feeling very tired. They could be having hair loss or very dry skin. An underactive thyroid can definitely slow down the metabolism and lead to more weight gain. So some of these symptoms of thyroid can overlap and amplify some of the symptoms you might be having during these menopausal or perimenopausal hormonal changes. So it's important to check these levels and make sure that your thyroid is optimized during these changes. And sleep really becomes so important here because as that progesterone starts to drop, you may not be getting enough deep sleep. And if you're not getting deep sleep, you might start to have higher cortisol and ghrelin levels. Ghrelin is actually your hunger hormone. So again, you might feel more hungry if you're not getting good quality sleep. It can also result in lower leptin levels. And leptin is the hormone that is responsible for satiety. It's the hormone that says, okay, I'm full, I don't need to eat anymore. So you can see with disrupted sleep, you can have significant disruption in food cravings, how much you're eating, what types of food you're eating, how often you want to eat, all because you didn't get a good night's sleep. And when you're not sleeping well, you feel more stressed and more anxious. Your cortisol levels rise. That leads your body to hold on to more fat. Managing stress is not a luxury. It really is a metabolic intervention. Whether that's a morning walk or mindful breathing, prayer, anything like that can be helpful in terms of stress management. Consider it a prescription or medication. You need to manage stress. So let's summarize some strategies that might work best for women in their 40s and 50s. Number 1, build muscle. Focus on strength training, focus on lifting heavy. Don't think about getting skinny or thin. You want to focus on getting strong. The rest will follow. Make sure that you are getting adequate protein in your diet. If possible, do that with whole foods rather than powders or supplements, but you can use those other things in addition to a healthy, well-balanced diet. Number 2, make sure that you are balancing your blood sugar and trying to work with this shift in insulin sensitivity and resistance. By lowering carbohydrates from your diet, you might notice you're feeling better. You might notice that helps with the weight loss. And by pairing carbohydrates with a protein or fat, you might feel that you are avoiding that energy crash after your meals. Make sure that you are supporting your hormones through adequate sleep and stress management. And get tested. Talk to your doctor, discuss the symptoms you're going through, see if they feel it's appropriate to test for things such as thyroid function or other metabolic markers to get a better idea of what's going on with your body. The women who do best here and really thrive are the ones that stop looking at this as a diet and start thinking about it as, how can I metabolically support my body? Remember, your metabolism didn't slow down. It's just adapting to the hormonal changes going on in your body. So you just need the right inputs to calibrate that. But again, it's so important to have a good relationship with your doctor so that you can be monitored during these lifestyle changes that you're making. Your successes can be measured, and you can make sure that you're doing everything in the right way and headed in the right direction. If today's episode resonated with you and you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram at EndoHealthDoc, or you can leave a comment on the podcast, Or please share this episode with a friend or family member who you think might benefit from the information. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on the Wellness Protocol.